So, DayZ is coming out with this new DLC map that's set on this snowy island called Sakhal, and it's got a pretty big area to explore. You'll have to deal with harsh winter conditions and not just the infected or other players trying to survive. The weather and the environment is a real challenge too. I got a chance to check out this map a couple of weeks before its official release thanks to Bohemia Interactive. Spent about 20 hours playing this new Frostline early access event this week, and I feel like I've got a pretty good feel for how this map is going to play. There's definitely a lot to cover here, with both ups and downs. So let's kick things off by talking about the map and how it's laid out. The terrain kinda feels like it was pulled straight from Arma 3's Tanoa, which is cool. Livonia was no different, but honestly, I would have been more into the idea of a hot jungle map like Tanoa instead of just a bigger namalsk. But that's just a personal preference. I played a bunch of Tanoa on a similar game mode called Exile on Arma 3, so it might just be nostalgia talking. The main landmass is pretty much the same, and a lot of the towns, docks, and airfields are roughly in the same spots. They have used DayZ assets for towns and villages, so it looks like they just borrowed the layout and the terrain from Tanoa. They tweaked a few things in the south, ditching a couple of the big islands and connecting some other small islands as a peninsula. I'm thinking this could be because the whole Tanoa landmass was too large to fill with content. I recall Arma 3 had a bunch of vehicles that made traveling super easy. Imagine if we had to do everything on foot. Now that would have been something else. The whole map was covered in a dense jungle, which made getting around pretty wild. But on Sakhal, it's mostly snow and pine trees, and for some reason it feels remarkably barren. Up north, there's a dormant volcano that heats you up when you get close to its core, which is pretty neat. And there are some hot springs scattered around that can warm you up without needing to start a fire. Plus, there are some linear adventures like this scientific case that needs a key, but I spent around 20 hours exploring and only found the key, but I couldn't track down the case itself. There's also another bunker in the southwest that requires a glow plug and some gasoline to power the generator for the doors, which is a cool little detail. The terrain textures aren't quite hitting the mark. No matter how high I crank up the graphics, it still seems like something from 2009. I even spotted some snow patches that are perfectly square. The resolution on the terrain is kinda puzzling. It looks like the coloring was done from way too far away. And the grass, I don't know why, but it just looks off. It's long and thick, which is kinda cool, and the wind has an effect on it, but it feels a bit strange. It looks to be like a complete new asset, but honestly, the grass in the namalsk mod is just way better than this. The completely snow-covered areas do look good though, but that's just a field of white. However, the snow on the trees adds a lovely touch. On the bright side, we've got some new stuff coming in. New buildings and a bunch of old broken down vehicles and boats. It's definitely adding a nice atmosphere to the map, but the variety could be a little bit better. And some of the cooler places don't have interiors. Like this observatory tower I spotted from way off. I got excited thinking it was something brand new for the DayZ world. But when I got there, the door was locked. No interior. Classic. After putting in 20 hours of gameplay, I've noticed something a bit off with this map, and I can't tell if it was overlooked or if it was done on purpose. But there's pretty much nothing in between the points of interest. Just a whole lot of trees, mountains, rocks, and an occasional frozen lake. Literally nothing to go for. There's nothing here to catch the player's eye that will lead them to wander off from their main path. No hunting stands, no picnic tables, no cozy cabins, and definitely no traveler's rest. I figured a mountainous area like this would have shelters with stoves or at least a bed to warm up in. Or maybe some lookout towers, since there's a volcano nearby that's definitely seen some action before. But now, you've got the choice of heading to a village, a military base, or camping out in the woods. And it looks like their positioning does not force players to cross paths at all. You can go long stretches without encountering anyone unless you rush directly from one military base to another. The servers we were playing on were capped at 45 people, which might explain the situation. I'm not certain if it's just due to the low player count or if there's genuinely not much to do other than visit the main location. There's also no events happening. I haven't seen or heard a helicopter crash, convoy, or gas zones at all. There are no unexpected encounters apart from the ones you somewhat anticipate. Okay, so that's the map. Now let's talk about the gameplay. If you've played on modded maps like namalsk or Vintage Naros on PC, this may seem familiar. The weather is chilly, so you'll need warm, insulated clothing and fires to keep your character cozy. Otherwise, you risk succumbing to the cold, which could lead to pneumonia. Finding water is challenging. There are no wells except for the designated springs near villages. The snow is contaminated, so you can't drink it directly, even if it isn't yellow. If it's not clean water, you'll need special tablets to purify it. This is a nice touch and adds a bit of variety to DayZ. Food is also pretty scarce, and items are found frozen, so you'll need to thaw them out over the fire before eating. This situation pushes you into survival mode, forcing you to hunt or fish for sustenance, which also brings in new content, like tweaking the fishing mechanic, making it necessary to pay more attention while fishing instead of just holding down left click. Well, you still have to keep it pressed, but now you'll have to let go when you notice a ripple in the water to pull on the rod. It's a nice little change, although it's still not quite a full fishing minigame. There are also new animations now for digging up earthworms with various tools, and using a shovel now yields multiple worms instead of just one. They also introduced small game like foxes and bunnies, and near reindeers instead of regular deer. I've been saying this for ages, how great it would be to have small animals in a game like DayZ, and now it's finally here. I just hope it won't be locked behind a paywall within the DLC, and that we'll get the chance to see these popping up in Livonia and Chernarus too. On top of all this, there's a new boat available for exploring the frozen seaside, along with a variety of winter cosmetics that all look pretty good. Also, I've always thought that DayZ should take the mods created by the community, refine them, and integrate them into the game as official content. And it seems like it's finally beginning to happen. The wolf headdress is a great example. Modders crafted an impressive wolf headdress, and now it's part of the game. But again, I just hope that some of these additions won't be limited to Frostline, because if they are, the modders will not get the recognition they deserve. Now, I feel like there are a few missed opportunities here and there. For instance, the frozen lakes could definitely be enabled for ice fishing. I tried using a pickaxe and a bunch of tools, but nothing worked. Maybe there is an ice pick I haven't discovered yet that would let you ice fish, but I think a pickaxe should really do the trick. Also, mountain shelters would be a nice touch, providing a cozy spot to stop, light a fire, and heat up some food before heading out again. Alright, so for new players or console users, this stuff seems like a solid enhancement to the gameplay. But for PC players who've been enjoying these features as mods for years, it really doesn't offer much new. Don't get me wrong. It's a solid new map, I'm just not sure it's worth the $27 price tag. I'm pointing this out because the map feels lacking in content. The missing elements beyond the points of interest, the low resolution textures with some map exclusive cosmetics don't quite warrant the price. I should really mention though that I've been playing an early access version of Frostline, so I could be completely mistaken, and the final release might offer a lot more to explore. But as it stands, it feels like a lot of the attention went into the linear experience with the bunker and scientific case, while the majority of the map, which is supposed to provide the actual gameplay, seems a bit neglected. I understand that this is the first build and they might expand on the map as development progresses, but I'm hesitant to spend the $27 on an unfinished DLC that will require some more work later, while the main game still needs a lot of attention. I mean, our core enemies, the infected, still behave like they're stuck in the first build of DayZ Standalone, struggling to make it on top of obstacles or go through closed doors and windows. Melee fighting still has a long way to go, and there's plenty of other areas that need attention too. So, splitting dev hours in between a DLC and the main game really isn't the right move in my opinion. With that in mind, I'll just assume that when Frostline is released, it'll be a complete version and won't need any more updates. Now, I totally understand that DayZ needs funds to keep going, and selling a DLC is a smart way to boost the budget. Honestly, the resources the game has gathered in its early days have likely dwindled by now, especially since the project seemed to be neglected for quite a while, and specifically after going through an engine swap that required a ton of rework. I should know, I've been playing this for about a decade, so I'm all in for buying a new DLC. But I'm worried about spending $27 on a map that ends up being incomplete and not very fun. I really hope that's not the situation. Fingers crossed, I've just been testing a really early version of Sakhal and that the final release will far exceed expectations. Now, I'd suggest holding off for now. Maybe take some time to watch a few streams and check out a couple of YouTube videos before making a purchase. That's if you're on PC. For console players, the cold weather gameplay is a fantastic addition that everyone should definitely try out. It's just a shame you have to access it through a DLC since modding isn't an option for you. Well, this is it. I hope this helps you decide whether to grab the new DLC or not. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. What do you think about Frostline? Have you played it, or have you seen any gameplay? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to chat with me or any other members of the community, or even play a few games together, be sure to join my Discord server. Or you could also drop by my Twitch live streams. I usually stream 4 days a week, and DayZ used to be my main gig. I can't wait to hang out with you all. Thanks again, and have a great day.